Hey kiddos, Trowbro is back with another e-learning with Trowbro, and today we're going to be looking at Perry the Platypus from Phineas and Ferb. I think you guys are going to like this one. It's a pretty easy one compared to some of the other ones we're going to do, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I got my picture of Perry the Platypus on the left, and I'm going to trace out the simple shapes that make up his design. And as I start to draw this, make sure that you are drawing very lightly. You do not push hard on your pencil because we're going to have to erase some of these lines. I want to get the overall basic shapes before I do any details. And so the biggest shape that I see is Perry's body, and it looks kind of like a stick of bubble gum or maybe a fish stick. Very rectangular, but it has kind of a slant to it, so make sure you get that. And then I'm going to draw the little plus sign. That's going to help me line up his face and make sure that is in the exact same spot as the picture on the left. Alright, now on to Perry's arms. One thing you want to notice about arms is they usually go from bigger to skinnier. So going from like his shoulder to his elbow, his arm gets skinnier. And then from his elbow to his wrist, it gets even skinnier. So your arm is always getting skinnier, both on the left and the right side. Alright, now onto his tail, which looks kind of like a parallelogram, kind of like a slanted rectangle, if you will. And then I'm going to go on to his feet. And his feet look kind of like drumsticks to me, like a chicken or turkey drumstick. It's kind of like really skinny and then kind of bulbous and round on the end, and draw those shapes. And as I'm drawing each one of these body parts, their arms and their legs, I'm always kind of looking at the picture on the left and seeing how far they are away from each other. So like I can see that his foot touches his tail. It's really important to me. Now, if any of this seems to be going too fast for you, it's okay to pause it. It's okay to rewind it. I do that all the time when I'm learning how to do something new on YouTube. Now I just have to draw his feet, which are kind of round-shaped triangles. Pretty easy. I'm still drawing light because I know I'm going to have to go and do the little details of his webbed foot. So draw really lightly. Alright, now that I got the basic shapes out of the way, let's go ahead and bring that picture of Perry back up, and I'm going to start on his face. And looking at that little red plus on the left, that's going to help me know exactly where to put his eye. I can see how kind of the bottom of his eye kind of rests right on that little red plus, and I can see that his other eye is coming right off of the plus, and I look at that little shape in between the line and his eye. There's a little line there, and then another eye shape. And both of his eyes look very egg-shaped to me. Now, unlike a lot of other characters we've drawn, Perry the Platypus doesn't have pupils. Usually there's 3 different circles in an eyeball. You have the iris, which is the color, the pupil, which is the black circle in the middle, and then you have the reflection circle, which is the little white circle, because your eyes are reflective. But Perry doesn't have any pupils. It's just iris, all brown, and then the reflection, the little white circle. So make sure you draw that. Alright, now on to Perry's beak. Now, you do know that a platypus is a mammal. They lay eggs. They have fur, even though it has a beak, and it's kind of like a bird. So he has this beak, and as I'm drawing this beak, I kind of realize that his hand should be a little bit lower, because right now it looks like it's kind of touching his hand. So I'm going to erase his hand, and I'm going to redraw a little bit lower, because I'm looking at that little shape in between his beak and his fist. And there's a little gap right there. I want to make sure that I get that gap right. So that's one of the reasons why it's very important that we're drawing lightly. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish his beak. It kind of has a curve and kind of comes up to like the middle, that little triangle right there in between his 2 eyes of his beak. Alright, now on to Perry's detective hat. Now this hat actually has a fancy name. It's called a fedora. And I like his fedora because it's really simple to draw. You draw like the straight line that goes across his brow, and then it has that little curve on the left, and then you just got to draw the top part of the hat, which is kind of like 2 triangles, and then just the band, which is kind of just a rectangle going across the top. So not too hard, but if you can learn how to do this, you can add cool fedoras on your characters, and it always adds a lot of personality to your drawings. Alright, now on to Perry the Platypus's fist. Alright, now the one on the left that you see, I'm going to go off that triangle and start with his little thumb, and it's kind of like a little slight curve, and then I draw each little finger, and they're kind of like little nubs, because you just see part of the knuckle, because he's got a clenched fist. This is also a really good fist to use, like if you're trying to draw any other characters, like learn how to draw the fist just like this. Now when I go on to the other fist, alright, I'm going to start with this thumb, and his thumb looks kind of like a letter E, but you don't go all the way across. And then the same thing with his pinky. I'm going to draw his pinky first because that you see all of. So you see all the pinky and it kind of like curves around, and then I just add each little finger, and they're kind of like ovally shaped.
One of the good things about practicing how to draw is as you learn how to draw these fists, you can add them to your characters. If you want to draw something else, you know how to draw a fist now. Now on to his tail. Now his tail is kind of like that parallelogram shape, and then he's got this kind of cross hatching. You have like 3 lines going down diagonal in one direction, and then you have 3 lines going diagonal in the opposite direction. I counted them because I want to make sure that I'm drawing it just like the one I see on the left. So I count. So make sure you're drawing 3 lines going down and then 3 lines going across to make those cool diamond shapes. Alright, now on to his webbed feet, and all it looks like is like a little wave. It's kind of like a little 3 little waves at the end of each triangle, and that's all a web foot is. And make sure that you're drawing nice and subtle. They're not like super sharp waves, just little curves. 3 of them on each foot. Alright, I think I got all the components of Perry the Platypus done. Now I'm going to go over my light drawing and push down a little bit harder. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. If you want to use Sharpie, you can go ahead and do it now. Sharpie is a permanent marker, so if you wanted to like color it with anything else, like color pencil or crayon or paint, the Sharpie is not going to do anything. But if you want to use like paint to do the black outline, you might want to do the other colors first. Because if like you do black paint and then you do yellow paint for his beak and his feet, and they touch, sometimes they can mix, and you don't want that. Even with a marker too. If you use marker and you do like that orangish yellow color for his beak, and then you go to and you do the black first and they touch, it always messes up. So if you're using Sharpie, you can do black first, but if you're using anything else, I usually use black. This is the last thing I do. But I'm gonna go ahead and just keep darkening this up. And alright, since I'm not going to be using any color pencils or painting, I'm actually going to just shade in his hat with my pencil just to add it a little bit of contrast, you know, like some light and some dark. Make his hat pop out a little bit more. Alright, now it's time for cleanup, and I think this is where Perry really starts to come out of this picture, because some of these lines are kind of all over the place, so as I take my eraser and clean up all these unwanted lines, it'll really start to look like the picture on the left. And there you have it. Finished Perry the Platypus.
Kiddos, I hope you had fun drawing Perry the Platypus today with me. If you want me to showcase the drawing that you've done of Perry the Platypus, have your parents email me at this email address right here, and I will feature your drawing at the end of my video next week. Alright, I'll see you then.